Hello and welcome to Follow the Money. I'm Raine Musñgi. Join us as we explore the tools and insights you need to jumpstart your financial journey. Social media giant Meta scraps its U.S. fact-checking program and launches a new community-based system similar to the approach used by X. Meta is also relaxing restrictions on hot-button issues like immigration and gender identity. This marks a shift in Meta's policy, as CEO Mark Zuckerberg previously stood by strict content moderation despite backlash from conservative groups.
First, we're going to get rid of fact-checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the US. After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote non-stop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact-checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US. So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system.
The move comes as Meta and Zuckerberg appear to be aligning more closely with Donald Trump and other Republicans as the president-elect prepares for his second term.
We're also going to tune our content filters to require much higher confidence before taking down content. The reality is that this is a trade-off. It means we're going to catch less bad stuff, but we'll also reduce the number of innocent people's posts and accounts that we accidentally take down.
Meta's policy shift could change how information spreads online, impacting social discourse and business reputations. For Philippine businesses, this highlights the need to adapt to new digital trends in content moderation and engagement. President-elect Donald Trump has hailed the scrapping of Meta's fact-checking program, saying the social media platform has come a long way. The move is Meta's biggest overhaul of its approach to managing political content on its services in recent memory, and comes as CEO Zuckerberg has signaled a desire to mend fences with the incoming administration. Trump met with Zuckerberg at his Florida home a few weeks ago, where the tech giant is said to have met the 47th president of the U.S., spoken to him, and donated $1 million to Trump's inaugural fund. It also comes shortly after the company named to its board Republican policy executive Joel Kaplan as global affairs head and elected Dana White, CEO of Ultimate Fighting Championship and a close friend of Trump.
I watched their news conference, and I thought it was a very good news conference. I think they've come a long way. Meta, Facebook. I think they've come a long way. I watched it. The man was very impressive. I watched it on Fox. I'm not allowed to say that.
Advocates for freedom of speech and expression celebrated the shift in policy at Meta. Conservative group American Principles Project supported the change, saying social media platforms need to facilitate, not limit, more conversations in the platforms, which is more than 3 billion users globally. They argued a communal system democratizes the fact-checking process.
Also a big win for free speech. This has been a fight that conservatives have been engaged in now for really 6 years, when the big tech censorship stuff really started. And Meta was one of the worst offenders. And the reality is that you look back at the 2020 election, one of the most prominent, I would say infamous examples of this is when the New York Post's Hunter Biden story was censored by Facebook and Twitter. And so this is a big shift. And I like the idea of democratizing the fact-checking just because, and Zuckerberg actually made this argument in his video, but, when you outsource it to one particular person with one particular political motivation or viewpoint, obviously you're going to have some dispute as to what's a fact and what's not, right? So this is why the free marketplace of ideas works. It's because you ultimately have people argue over what's true and what's not, and hopefully get to a consensus.
Other observers have mixed feelings about the move, saying that Meta CEO Zuckerberg was forced to bow to criticism.
I think that this is a bit politically motivated, but I also think that there has been a huge push worldwide for these changes to happen. So I think misinformation is rampant on platforms, and what I worry about is that by taking away fact-checking, we're going to see more regulatory pushes from outside of the U.S. That's not necessarily a good thing. We want fact-checking as a response to misinformation rather than state censorship. And so that's really where the concern comes in, that when we're talking about serious issues, whether it's health misinformation or geopolitical misinformation.
President-elect Trump declined to rule out military or economic action as part of his desire to have the U.S. take back control of the Panama Canal and acquire the Danish territory of Greenland. Asked at a press conference Tuesday on whether he could assure the world that he would not use coercion as he tries to gain control of those areas, Trump merely said the U.S. needs them for economic security. Trump suggested he would impose tariffs on Denmark if it resists his offer to purchase Greenland, which he said is vital to U.S. national security.
Well, we need Greenland for national security purposes. I've been told that for a long time, long before I even ran. I mean, people have been talking about it for a long time. You have approximately 45,000 people there. People really don't even know if Denmark has any legal right to it. But if they do, they should give it up because we need it for national security. That's for the free world. I'm talking about protecting the free world. You look at, you don't even need binoculars. You look outside, you have China ships all over the place. You have Russian ships all over the place. We're not letting that happen. We're not letting it happen. And if Denmark wants to get to a conclusion, but nobody knows if they even have any right, title, or interest. The people are going to probably vote for independence or to come into the United States. But if they did do that, then I would tariff Denmark at a very high level.
The statement came as Trump further outlined an expansionist agenda 2 weeks before he's sworn into office at the January 20th inauguration in Washington. Trump also reiterated his interest in making Canada into a U.S. state and criticized American spending on Canadian goods and military support for Canada, one of the country's closest allies. He also vowed to change the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America and repeated his promise to impose significant tariffs on Mexico and Canada. Panamanian President Raul Mulino has previously rejected the notion of turning the canal back to the U.S., which had owned it before handing over control to Panama in 1999. Denmark has said Greenland is not for sale. Denmark's Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen said on Tuesday only people of Greenland can determine the island's future. Greenland's Prime Minister Mute Egede also stated that the island is not for sale, but stepped up a push for independence from Denmark in his New Year's speech. On Monday, Trump praised the island on his social media platform Truth Social, promising to make Greenland great again. Trump has signaled he would pursue a foreign policy unbound by diplomatic niceties, saying last month that U.S. control of Greenland is an absolute necessity. Greenland, an autonomous territory of Denmark, is geographically part of the North American continent. Its capital, Nuuk, is closer to New York than the Danish capital of Copenhagen. Denmark, a close NATO ally, has seen relations with Greenland worsen in recent years, prompted by revelations of misconduct by its former colonial ruler, Denmark.
Of course, I want to say some words to the discussion taking place about Greenland right now. I want to make it very clear that, seen with the eyes of the Danish government, Greenland is for the Greenlandic people. It is a very proud people, a language and culture. It is a people that is their own. And as the chairman of the government of Greenland, Mulls, has stated before, Greenland is not for sale. The United States is our absolute closest ally, and we want to work closely with them in all defense and security questions. It is also regarding the North Atlantic, where tensions are rising. We have a clear interest in that it is the United States that plays a large role in the area and not, for example, Russia or other countries. But Greenland is for the Greenlandic people.
It is clear that Greenland has an interest in having strong cooperation with the United States. We also have that on Danish side, and we will also have strengthened cooperation in relation to the issues surrounding the Arctic in the coming years. We were going to prioritize much bigger investments in the Arctic, because we are looking into a completely different situation than we have done in the past. And the negotiations regarding investment in a new agreement around the Arctic, we are actually also starting today.
Donald Trump's eldest son, Donald Jr., arrived in Greenland's capital, Nuuk, on a private visit Tuesday, greeted by Trump supporters wearing Make America Great Again hats. Trump Jr. flew in through his father's Trump Force One private plane for a visit expected to last 4 to 5 hours. No meetings were scheduled with government officials on the island, which is a population of just 57,000. In 2019, Trump postponed a scheduled Denmark visit after its Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen rebuffed his idea of the U.S. purchasing Greenland. The Greenlandic member of the Danish parliament said a U.S. takeover should be rejected, saying Greenland should not be bought by anyone.
I think some people find it interesting for now that Trump Jr. is in Greenland, but I also think that a lot of people in Greenland are quite critical towards especially Trump. They would like to see a closer collaboration. We would like to see a closer collaboration with the US and also with Canada, of course, because we're part of the North American continent, and I think it makes a lot of sense to collaborate the other way around as well. But I also think a close collaboration with Denmark is important for us when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to education. My reaction to the Trump visit is that all American tourists are welcome in Greenland. We just had a new landing strip, and we would like to see much more business development and especially tourism, but also the extraction of raw earth materials in Greenland is something that we're quite interested in. So if you only look at it from a visit from an American tourist, I think it's great. But we all know that the timing and also the dad to Trump Jr. is of course saying that he would like to own and control Greenland. And we don't like that. We find it quite disrespectful in Greenland. I think in many ways, it's not a question of whether should we be American or Danish citizens. It's a question of whether should we maybe collaborate a bit more with the US. We shouldn't be bought by anyone because Greenland is not for sale and Greenland will not be for sale, but we can have a closer collaboration on business development with the US.
In cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin tumbled more than 5% to the 96,300 level after earlier hitting a 3-week high. MicroStrategy, one of the world's largest holders of Bitcoin, plunged 10% as the cryptocurrency tumbled. Shares of cryptocurrency exchange Coinbase Global fell 8%. Bitcoin was trading at $96,800, down from an overnight high of $102,700. The digital currency moved above the $100,000 level last Tuesday for the first time in nearly 3 weeks. Fast fashion online retailer Shein, which is hoping to list in London, faces a UK hearing on Tuesday where a British parliamentary committee plans to question the firm about the rights of workers in its supply chain. The committee is examining the government's flagship employment rights bill in the context of protections for British workers. But it's also looking at how to ensure adequate protection against importing poor labor standards, including concerns over forced labor. Shein's General Counsel for Europe, Middle East and Africa, Yinan Zhu, told MPs that the company does not own any factories or manufacturing facilities, but works with a large network of suppliers, mostly in China, but also in Turkey and Brazil. She added that Shein complied with laws and regulations in the countries they operate in. Shein has previously said it is committed to respecting human rights and has a zero-tolerance policy on forced labor. She also refuses to say whether the company sells products containing cotton from China, at which MPs accused her of willful ignorance. Research seen by the BBC showed that up to 500,000 people were being forced to pick cotton in Xinjiang, but Beijing has denied any rights abuses. Shein was founded in China in 2008, but is now headquartered in Singapore. Having grown rapidly in the US, Europe, and UK, it is awaiting regulatory approval from British and Chinese authorities for a London initial public offering after filing papers with Britain's market regulator in early June. The Cross-Party Business and Trade Committee will also question Temu, the global online marketplace owned by Chinese e-commerce firm PDD Holdings, as part of an inquiry into employment rights opened in October. Temu has also said it strictly prohibits forced labor. Coming up, Labor Secretary Laguesma joins us to share his insights on the biggest opportunities that workers may not yet be tapping into. Stay on BNC and follow the money.
Get into a new adventure with every Happy Meal. Starts at 96 pesos.
At BNC, 12 noon doesn't mean break. We're always ready to give you the latest news. Join Maya Rodriguez delivering fresh news for you.
Price of diesel will increase by $1.45 per liter. Field of flowers cover the square in front of St. John Church.
Vendors we spoke to here in La Loma say sales are up this year.
News feed at noon, only here on BNC.
Welcome back to Follow the Money. The Philippine unemployment rate drops to 3.2% in November, marking a new low in the country's jobless numbers. This is according to the Philippine Statistics Authority, or PSA. It's a significant improvement from 3.9% in October and the 3.6% recorded in November 2023. The PSA says the drop is driven by job gains in key sectors, including manufacturing, accommodation and food services, human health and social work, other services, as well as transportation and storage. The Philippine labor sector is undergoing significant transformations influenced by technological advancements, policy shifts, and evolving economic landscapes. In 2024, the country experienced a 4.6% growth in labor productivity during the second quarter, alongside fluctuations in unemployment rates, with a notable decrease to 3.7% in September. Today, we are honored to have with us Secretary Bienvenido Laguesma of the Department of Labor and Employment, who will provide insights into these developments and share his outlook for 2025. Good morning, Mr. Secretary, and thank you so much for making time for us.
Good morning, Raine, and good morning also to your televiewers, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for joining us on Follow the Money. Secretary Laguesma, could you kindly, we just saw the unemployment numbers. Could you share with us a quick reaction to that first?
Well, we warmly welcome this development. It will actually a reaffirmation that programs and policies instituted at the start of the present administration of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. are actually getting positive results, and this actually encourages us to continue enhancing and effectively implementing programs of the department to contribute to the overall aspiration of having quality, sustainable, and remunerative jobs for our workers.
And currently, could you give us kindly an overview of the current state of the Philippine labor sector, particularly in the light of the 4.6% growth in labor productivity observed during the first half of last year?
Raine, we also warmly welcome such development, because positive growth in productivity will mean that it's a reflection of the resilience of the Philippine labor force, as well as the robust progress in the efficiency of our workers. When we talk about increasing labor productivity, this means that we are getting headway on our efforts to really upskill, train our workers so that they can actually demand for better incomes. At the same time, employers, on the other hand, would be able to adapt to the challenges of the present situation in our labor market. So we are really pleased, but this actually provides us motivation to continue pursuing the path towards really preparing our workers for the challenges of the future.
Secretary, we'll touch back on the upskilling in a moment. But first, the unemployment rate in the Philippines that actually fluctuated up and down last year. Could you kindly share with us, if you reflect on the past year, what would you identify as a single most impactful event in the labor sector that affected that industry? And what lessons could be learned that could shape future labor policies?
Actually, Raine, fluctuation is a character of our labor market. No? And, let me put forward two impactful events, not just a single event. One is the adverse effects of climate change. And this actually has impacted on a number of our companies, particularly those belonging to the micro, small, and medium enterprises. And the other one has actually to do with technological adaptation. These are two events that has to be really reckoned with, and it has actually affected us not just last year, previous years, and also probably moving forward. This will continue to cause challenges for us, so that we have to really continue to provide balancing of our policies towards helping the workers adapt to the adverse effects of climate change. For instance, last year, we are very unfortunate to have at least 10 consecutive typhoons or weather disturbances. And this affected basically our agricultural sector. And this is impacted on the continuity of the work of our workers, particularly those involved in the agricultural sector and the small and medium enterprises. So the lesson learned there is that we should continue to move on, making adjustments in our policy on social protection, so that we will be able to bridge the difficulties towards empowering our workers who are affected by the adverse effects of climate to be able to weather the difficulties and be able to bounce back after these calamities have actually subsided or begun from our labor market.
The note on climate change is actually interesting and new. We shall pick up on that some more later. But the BPO industry, a significant employer in the Philippines, reports indicate that there's a reluctance. Do you see a reluctance to integrate AI for the upskilling of BPO workers? And now they're vulnerable. And considering the challenges we faced in 2024, how has the department addressed the job security concerns of these workers potentially displaced by automation? Is there kind of a support being provided to upskill these workers to ensure their job security and technological advancement?
Raine, I would not consider it reluctance, but rather cautiousness. The employers are quite cautious, and it's actually probably borne out on the need to really project what will be the requirements in terms of investment, resources, to be able to adapt to the rapid technological advancement that not only the Philippines but other countries are also experiencing. And on this note, actually, we have been partnering with the association in the IT Business Process Association of the Philippines, doing consultation, brainstorming what would be in store in the future for our students who are actually entering the workforce in the near future, and what are the things that the government can do to assist them. One, we have to modernize educational and training institution. That's for sure is a necessary thing to be done. We have to really embrace, not be afraid that we know that technological advancement also would cause displacement, but it will also provide us new opportunities. And the need to upskill, retrain our workers would be a necessary component to be able to confront the challenges brought about by this particular phenomena, which is actually, we have been seeing this over the last couple of years, and this will be the wave of the future. After all, we are in a digital economy.
Secretary Leguesma, about the competitiveness of our Philippine workforce, You know, Apple CEO Tim Cook has said that the reliance on Chinese manufacturers stems not from cheap labor, but from a workforce that is both highly skilled and technically capable. How would you assess the technical capabilities of our workers here? There's also the matter of the Philippines losing out on a lot of contracts, particularly, for example, the data centers that we lost out to Malaysia and Vietnam in the past year. How do you think that's affecting the labor market?
Actually, we go with the philosophy of the Apple CEO that what determines workers' ability to increase their wages and incomes are their knowledge and skills. After all, the 21st century economy is a knowledge economy. And, intervention in wage level is being done by the government, but only for the purpose of setting the minimum wage. Beyond the baselines, I think it would be resorted to or resolved through bipartite arrangements, and workers have to be really equipped, be competent enough to be able to determine for themselves what would be the fair wage. No? The issue on contrasting views on wages as well as the levels of competence has always been there. Even from time immemorial, this has always been an issue. But balancing these two concerns, the workers' concern about better benefits, security of employment, and on the part of the employers, fair return of investment and expansion and growth, is always a difficult issue to balance. But government can help by really, without sacrificing business expansion and employment creation, by providing predictable balance, and ease in doing business is one, good governance is another. And the other thing is that we should be able to provide them a sense of security that when they invest in the country, they will not be subjected to changes in the rules at the middle of the game.
Talking about changes in the rules, do you expect that the minimum wage would actually be adjusted again this year? And finally, what is your message to investors about the future of employment in the Philippines, especially in terms of opportunities and challenges and the role of technology?
Well, the Philippines, this might be a self-serving statement, Raine, but I do believe that the Philippines is a good destination for investment. For one, we continue to improve on infrastructure. The President is very resolute and firm in ensuring that there will be ease in doing business, that digitalization should be pursued, so that it's not simply ease in doing business, but reducing the cost of doing business. And that our mechanism, if ever there are differences or concerns about terms and conditions of employment, the mechanisms of the department will always be there to provide fair, expeditious, and balanced settlement or resolution of disputes, so that investors would have the peace of mind that they will be actually getting just and fair justice from every department, institution, or mechanisms that actually handles labor and management relations. So I don't think they have to fear anything. We will be always ready to provide them assistance, not simply in terms of providing guidance, giving them opportunities to be able to expand. I think this is the overall goal of the department, not only the department, I would say, but the entire Marcos Jr. administration.
So very quickly, do you think that there would be a wage hike or no wage hike for this coming year?
We just completed our round for 2024, Raine, and I would not preempt nor make advanced pronouncement. Okay. We continue the National Wages and Productivity Boards and the different regional tripartite wages and productivity boards will continue to do its task of monitoring, making consultations, researches,
Understood.
and make sure that any adjustment will be fair, deliberate, and that it will not be contributory to increasing unemployment or even spiking inflation. So we do a lot of balancing, because we would like to see that the economy of the Philippines will really move on, grow, for the benefit of every single citizen of the country.
On that note, thank you so much, Labor Secretary Bienvenido Laguesma. Pleasure to have you and grateful to have you with us, sharing your insights and perspectives on the Philippine labor sector. Thank you so much, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you so much too, Raine, and good morning.
Good morning. As we navigate the evolving landscape of employment, it is evident that adaptability and proactive policy measures will be crucial in ensuring that the Filipino workforce thrives amid technological advancements and economic shifts. Before we go, we leave you with this thought from the founder and executive chairman of the World Economic Forum that's happening January 20th to 24 in Davos. In the new world, it is not the big fish which eats the small fish. It's the fast fish which eats the slow fish. And that is it for today's edition of Follow the Money. I'm Raine Musñgi. Thank you so much for watching. Keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News channel, always on top.